Hi boys and girls. I'm going to do a quick tutorial over the muscular system. I thought I would start with the muscular system because it has the smallest number of vocabulary, and it's the first one that we did in the series of systems during this unit. So as you can see, there are, 8 vocabulary words that you need to know for the muscular system. The first two are voluntary and involuntary. Those are pretty self-explanatory, I think. Remember, when you volunteer for something, you do it because you want to. And involuntary is obviously the opposite, so you do it without thinking. So voluntary muscles are those that you think about moving, like your skeletal muscles. And then your involuntary muscles are those that control your heart rate, digestion, and breathing. Antagonistic pairs, that means that your muscles will always work in pairs. One does one thing, the other does the opposite. So remember then when we talked about the definition of the antagonist in language arts, that meant that it was the antagonist, as you all seem to remember, is that it is the one that goes against the protagonist or the other person in the story. So the antagonist is the opposite. So antagonistic pairs of muscles work opposite each other. And I'm going to show you a really good graphic that I found on that on the next slide. Then you have your 3 types of muscle: smooth, cardiac, and skeletal. Smooth is the kind of muscle that lines your stomach and your blood vessels and your lungs and things like that. Cardiac is your heart. Your cardiac muscle, your heart is made of cardiac muscle. That's the only place where cardiac muscle is found, is in the heart. And then the skeletal muscles are those that are attached to your bones. So I think those 3 are pretty self-explanatory, but then again, I'm the teacher. So again, smooth muscle is that really, really smooth, almost slippery muscle that is in your internal organs. Cardiac is in your heart, and skeletal is attached to your bones. Then you have 2 more vocabulary words. The first one is ligament, and the second is tendon. And hopefully you remember very vividly from our chicken wing lab that the ligament attaches bone to bone. So if you'll recall, when we looked at the top of the humerus, you could see a few, 2 or 3 maybe. They almost looked like thick elastics that were white and were coming out of the top by the humerus. Those were ligaments. Tendons, when we were looking at the muscles in the chicken wing, the muscles were kind of a pinkish, yellowish, and as they got closer and closer to the bone, they turned white. And those are tendons, because tendons attach muscle to bone, whereas ligaments attach bone to bone. So I have a couple of more slides that I'm going to show you just to review these concepts. Okay, so this is our beautiful picture of 2 muscles that are antagonistic pairs, the tricep and the bicep. So as you flex your arm, okay, as you make a muscle to look buff, your bicep actually your bicep actually contracts, so it gets tighter and smaller. You can see the bulge there. And then your tricep extends. So you can see the difference here. This is this bulge, and then the tricep extends. When you release your arm or lower your arm, you'll notice that there's a little bit of a bulge here in the tricep. Your tricep contracts and your bicep extends. So notice how these 2 pictures are opposite of each other. You can see on the contraction and extension, contraction, extension. So they are antagonistic pairs. I don't have a stylus at home, so I'm writing with my finger, so I apologize. Antagonistic pairs, so they are opposites. Oh my goodness, my finger isn't as good as I had hoped. Opposites. Okay. So they are doing the opposite movement. The bicep contracts, the tricep releases, the tricep contracts, and the bicep releases. Okay, and then this is our final slide. And it's a great picture of the difference between a ligament and a tendon. So you can see here that the ligaments are white, okay? And that's what we saw on the chicken bone as well. So you can see that ligaments connect bone to bone, and then tendons, there's that muscle, that beautiful pink muscle, and then it starts to turn to white. This is the tendon, and that attaches muscle to bone. So ligament is bone to bone, and tendon is muscle to bone. And other than remembering where to find smooth, cardiac, and skeletal muscles, that's it for the vocabulary for the muscular system. Just remember that smooth is in your organs, okay? And cardiac is in your heart. That's the only place you find cardiac muscle, okay? And then skeletal, whoa. All right, let's try this again. Sorry about that. Skeletal in your skeleton. Again, makes perfect sense to me, but then again, I'm the teacher. So, skeleton attaches to your bones, or skeletal attaches to your bones. So, I'll be putting together a skeletal tutorial and a nervous system tutorial, and keep an eye out for those.